everybody, it is Aliera of Wayrest, the runaway queen, the thief, the arms dealer. So, I was doing oh my god, the explosion. That was real. I was doing an arena playthrough and it came to my attention that people kind of had their fill of the backstory on that, and the open world feel wasn't translating quite as well as I thought. So I was like, that's cool. We will go ahead and we will close that up and we'll go on to Daggerfall and find me. So, I'm excited. This is actually the game that I'm in. My dad, Akatosh, launched. I actually ran into a clip today where, Patrick Stewart says his handle and it's hilarious. I was like, whoa. So it was an awesome moment. But Red Guards hail from the province of Hammerfell. You are part of a dark-skinned people, extremely hardy and quick. Legend has it the Red Guard are innately more proficient with weaponry than any other race. In general, Red Guards make excellent warriors. Is your character to be a Red Guard? I do generally play a Red Guard. My skin is swarthy. I'm like the only one in the family. Everyone else is ruddy. My brother's blonde. His kids are blonde. My younger brother has black hair. So does my dad. My dad used to tease me. I was a throwback from his Romanian gypsy grandmother. So I actually use her name as my handle frequently. Ladies, protect yourself. They're all just handles. You know, Aliera of Wayrest went on to become famous. It's my handle. Well, Aliera is. They chose from Wayrest. Obviously, that was Elder Scrolls. Choose from a list of possible classes to play. You can also create your own custom character class by choosing this option. Let's generate. Let's do the Ultima thing. It's a particularly grueling class. Your arms master has been unreasonably demanding on everyone, including you. Is that right, Kitty? His criticism border on abuse, and it seems he has no positive comments to make. He's a Khajiit. He turns to berate you at the end of the class and over his shoulder. You see some classmates put an aggressive but non-poisonous snake in his hand sack. You would. Do I hit enter or click here? Oh, I scroll down, right? Age or nothing, the great arms master needs a dose of humility. This might be a good way of paying him back for all the misery he's put you through today. Tell him you saw a snake creep into his hand sack. Do not tell him what your classmates did. No reason to tell anyone. No reason to get anyone even further in trouble. Immediately tell him what the classmates did. There's no excuse for treating a seasoned fighter like him with disrespect, regardless of his treatment to you that particular day. I mean, I just don't think it's any of my business. Your mother sends you to the market with a list of goods to buy. After you finish, you find that by mistake a shopkeeper has given you too much money back in exchange for one of the items. Always return the money. Like, I don't even need to read this. You always return the money. It's somebody's job. And at the end of the day, if their drawer doesn't balance, that's like the worst feeling ever. I've had to like write employees up and everything, and it's just like, you'll never think well of whoever it was that did it again. Because you usually kind of know, like, when you got distracted or whatever. A senior student in your weapons class has trounced you unmercifully for the past several years. Today is the tournament of students, and you find with dismay you're paired against him for your first match. As you prepare, your friend approaches and offers to tell you of an injury this senior student suffered in yesterday's sparring class, which you missed. Do you accept the offer, knowing it will allow you to concentrate in the injured area, greatly increase chances of beating him? Refuse the offer, knowing win or lose you would rather do it through your own skill and not some extra knowledge. What would be a fair and honorable fight? Accept the offer, reasoning that it is better to have knowledge in case you need it, and realizing that having the knowledge does not necessarily mean using it. Well, obviously it's A. I mean, who fights to lose? I don't really think there's any dishonor in knowing your opponent, and that would be, you know, if it was sparring and it was in front of people, that's common knowledge. Practicing alone, you develop a new fighting style. You're very excited about it. When you mention it to your arms master, he tells you it would never work in practical combat. Do you use the new style in the middle of a class spar? When it works, they'll be forced to admit its practicality or give a reason for not accepting it. Keep asking him questions about it, focusing on the details of the form to find his objection. Eventually, you'll have to give a more specific criticism. Accept his word without question. Your arms master has been fighting since your grandfather's day. He knows the flood style when he sees it. It's better not to waste his or your time asking why. Always ask. The specific criticism actually allows you to redirect your research, whatever field you might be working in. And that's really what your teachers are for. So as long as you're not being a jerk and insisting that you're right, as long as you're being teachable, a really experienced person can actually guide you to not necessarily, like, he might even give that up and then just learn something from it. And most mentors or teachers, and I've served in that role, are more than happy to have that conversation with you as long as you're polite about when. Your mother asks you to help fix the stove. While you are working, a very hot pipe slips its moorings and falls towards her. Do you push your mother out of the way, grab the hot pipe, and try to push it away? I did that once with hot glue. For some reason, I tried to catch it. Don't do it. Position yourself between the pipe and your mother. Obviously, you push your mother out of the way. You're dexterous. Your cousin has given you a very embarrassing nickname and even worse, likes to call you it in front of your friends. You've asked him to stop, but he finds it very amusing to watch you blush. What do you do? That would be actually pretty normal for me. All of my cousins were into D&D, and then they all grew up and they converted. Some of my friends too. Make up an even more embarrassing nickname for him. Use it constantly until he learns his lesson. Make up a story that makes a nickname a badge of honor instead of something humiliating. Beat up your cousin, then tell him if he ever calls you a nickname again, you'll buddy him worse than this time. My cousin runs endurance sports with me. I don't know why, I just assumed it was like a particular cousin, but the only one that I would think would ever rag on me to this day runs endurance sports with me, and it wrestles and plays football and was a camp guide, so having a nice rowdy fight with him would not be that strange. You're at weapons practice. Your arms master is very old now, but takes his teaching very seriously. You've heard him say it is all he has left in life. Today he ceaselessly taunted you at every mistake. Finally he asks you to attack him with the same technique you just did in an effort to show you the proper execution. Do the technique just fast enough he can block it, knowing it's more important to allow your master to retain his dignity regardless of your personal feelings. Attack him at full speed, knowing that you could probably score the hit and justify his unfair treatment of you by showing the class that you were actually doing it right, or refuse and leave practice, unable to compromise your anger with his dignity, and realize that whatever course you choose will cause you to lose respect for either him or yourself. They were a very interesting group, Bethesda, way back in the day. They had a very quintessential D&D nerd style to them. So while they didn't use D&D rules, and there's a argument in the forums that their dragons are actually wyverns, they are not, because they don't use D&D rules. They had this style that was very central to that culture, and it was one of the reasons we knew that they'd be a hit. And I actually don't agree with a lot of this because I'm an extremely social person, and I have a tendency to have, that really, like, the tennis club lifestyle. I don't do golf club as much, and then I never, like, I like horseback riding and whatever, but, like, so I can't understand it, and I tend to choose A every time, because I have that respect for my elders, used to having mentors, used to having tutors, went to a Montessori school sort of mindset. But it's always interesting to me because I know that there was like this cult following for that feeling, and it was that specific. And I ran into it in their lore book. I don't know if I have it like right on hand. But I ran into it in their lore book where they have this kind of like boys club feel to it. Where it's D&D nerds, and I get into that a little bit because I think that you have to give up some of your gender role if you're entering a subculture. But it's definitely an interesting feel in the Elder Scrolls. You're definitely traveling into the medieval sort of, you see it on Game of Thrones, boy-centric, lots of things about pride and honor. Your father delights in telling you stories of his travels in his youth. In one memorable tale, he tells you about a primitive island he visited where a young child was sacrificed once a year to appease Arius, the god of fire. Whenever the natives neglected sacrifice, the island volcano would erupt, killing hundreds of villagers. Tell your father you do not believe in any such volcano god. Civilized men should intervene, find the natural cause behind the eruptions, and stop the sacrifices. I really think they have the tech there. God Arius must be evil and demand child sacrifice. Villagers should find some way to combat this god. Instead of just giving in to his demands, it's tragic. The death of one small child is preferable to that of many villagers. If it works, should keep with the tradition. Gods are not to be toyed with. I hate the word should here. I know that they're forcing a moral dilemma, though, and so, like, to extend on my previous statement, and this is actually really an interesting exercise to me, mainstream media says, and mainstream culture, especially derivative of mainstream media, says, feel bad about every one of those answers. Whereas to me, I'm like, I have a degree in philosophy. Like, you're supposed to talk about this stuff. Have the forum for it. You know what I mean? Like, have that distance and be able to have the conversation. While in a marketplace, you witness, I think it's all one word, you witness a thief cut a purse from a noble. I still don't know. Every once in a while I run into one of these, and I don't know whether or not to message them. Probably not. Like, I messaged them the one time because I ran into a whole bunch of stuff about E6, and I recognized that Fallout 76 was following the paradigm of Fortnite, where people were part of that early access build, which was huge. They won golden joysticks, and everybody missed that. So I actually made contact with them about that, because I was like, this is a major PR nightmare. So I wanted to tell them some of the things that fans wanted and kind of get like a little bit of a sense of like just what they thought of it without actually asking. They were incredible. They're very nice people. Even as he does so, the noble notices and calls for the city guards. In his haste to get away, the thief drops the purse near you. Surprisingly, no one seems to notice a bag of coins at your feet. You pick it up and pocket it, knowing the extra windfall will help your family in times of trouble. And again, there's that justification that they put in there, which signals the feeling that you should feel bad, but these are actually just questions to determine your character. There's a lot of controversy. They let you play a lot of very negative, quote-unquote, roles in this, and you don't run into that in a lot of first-person scenarios. I actually wrote an article about it, so this was fascinating to me. Pick up the bag and signal to the guard, knowing that the only honorable thing to do is return the money to its rightful owner. Leave the bag there, knowing that it's better not to get involved. So you would obviously give it back. You wind up doing that. In first person, you don't do a whole lot of things, including FPS. Like, you're not supposed to get drunk and so on. And that's one of the big draws for Grand Theft Auto, but they still label it as bad. And getting drunk is so simple. You know what I mean? So these moral dilemmas, they kind of ignored them and allowed you to just talk about them or live them out. And hopefully, gamers group, I always joke about that. We run in, if you ever see one gamer, then the group is not far behind in comparison to velociraptors. So, I thought that it was interesting because they knew they had this support group built in and then created this culture about it. I think it's why they, I know it's a big part of why they got so big. Your arms master is relating the story of a great king. He knew in a faraway land whose inventors created a wondrous balloon of such size it could transport dozens of people through the air to any place they choose. If you were this king, he asked you, how would you use your remarkable balloon? Okay, that's interesting. I think this is my last question. I constantly find my own typos and re-edit them, so the urge to go in and do that is overwhelming. Explore regions previously impossible or extremely dangerous to visit by land. I actually do a blog post today on a game at Bad Fantasy RX. So every once in a while I'll publish it, and since I do it every day, I'll publish it and miss a typo because I do it so often, and I'll go back in and edit that. Explore regions previously. Keep the balloon in secret, saving it for surprise attacks or defense in time of war. Commission the inventor to create dozens of these balloons in hopes to make a travel system across your realm that will speed transportation, time, and the exchange of ideas. That would actually also speed commerce. It's interesting that they referred to communications instead, though. This came out right as the internet broke, and so like amazing things were happening in the field of communications. Archers are warriors, specially trained in the use of the bow. That's awesome. I'm actually a really good archer. I won this girl Peach Snapple once in art class, in gym class. She couldn't hit the bullseye to save her life, but she loved Peach Snapple. Everyone in her class did for some reason. So I just shot it for her. That was my, me moment in school. So hey, a win. I'm an archer. The most important skills to an archer are archery, hand-to-hand, dodging, axe, blunt weapon, and critical striking. Do you wish your character to be an archer? Yes, I am in fact Sterling Archer. Choose your character's career path. Let's do fast start. Let's do that. Okay, name thyself. I'll go by the Wolf, even though it makes the my first name. I'm remarkably okay with rando nomenclature. Let's see here. I kind of like this. Choose thy face. I loved this about that. This actually got commented on, that you could save the roll. Because it was so crushing when you would go through and you would get this awesome roll. Or if off the drop you got one and you didn't know what the norms were, and then you went again and it took sometimes it was fun and sometimes you really did enjoy that, but having the option of saving really was a godsend, because you could spend hours creating a character if you just got crap rolls over and over again. I ran into it a little bit in... This is cool. They let you actually reload and check your loot too. We'll go with this one. You must distribute your bonus points. All right. They let you go through and I need lots of agility, of course. Lots of speed. Reload for loot as well. So hand to hand. I think they said hand to hand was important. So, X, long blade. Am I able to go up and down here? What am I doing wrong? Oh, there we go. Every once in a while, the interface is just like, what? Long blade, short blade, hand to hand, dodging is probably important. Climbing, running, jumping. Let's make it so we can climb. Let's do that. Jumping, running, okay. But I did. Oh! I can have even more of these. Well, we'll just do all critical strike. Player reflexes determine the overall. We'll leave it very low just because I'm live. I'm embarrassing myself. Alright. Ye old bookie.
400 years.
400 years.
The beginning will meet the end, and the bloody circle will close in the empire of Tamriel. The unworthy heirs of the Septim dynasty have allowed the bonds of the empire to weaken.
How dare they?
Crack. Uriel Septim, the seventh, cannot repair what his ancestors ignored. The provinces fight among themselves like neglected children, drunk with rebellion, and one indomitable power hides itself, but not forever.
Not forever. So the empire is falling apart. That's sad. I didn't go out of my way to reunite it. Reunite it? In order for it to crumble. Not on my watch. Seat of Emperor Uriel Septim the Second. Whoa. Nice. Hello, friend. I remember when they first sent this out.
But none may know of this meeting.
Hey, no probs. Discretion is my middle name.
The
I just
nature
got
of
called
my
the
trouble
Prez
is
Ultimate Gaming.
darker still. Over a year ago, King Lysandus of Daggerfall died honorably on the field of battle.
Oh, cool.
He was as loyal a subject, ally, and friend
Sweet. So, you know,
as you are.
we'll go to Valhalla, where the dead live forever then.
I did grieve for him,
Yo, I'm right here grieving with you.
but his spirit does not rest. With the spectral
Didn't go to
army, he haunts his former kingdom, crying for revenge.
Not a lichy. I used to
do
rock
not
his
know
t-shirt.
why a good and loyal man would be so cursed.
What is this world
Perhaps
coming
you
to?
can find the answer and close the marble jaws of oblivion, bringing peace to his soul.
God, I hate it when they leave that open. Just call my dad.
I ask this as your emperor and your friend.
Calling me friend.
I have
It's not how we
one
roll, bro.
lesser request.
Supposed to circle the issue.
Several years ago, I wrote a letter to the Queen of Daggerfall.
Me too,
It
in the
never
game.
arrived.
Only goes into the queen. There's a lot of that going around.
The letter was of a sentimental and personal nature. If you find and destroy that letter, I will be grateful.
I understand, bro.
Now, my champion, rest well this night. For tomorrow you sail for the kingdom of Daggerfall.
Sweet. Let's go. I'm excited. Love a quest. You wake and look around the room. Some hours ago you were in a boat en route to Daggerfall when a storm with supernatural strength boiled over the Iliac Bay like a malefic creature. Your boat was destroyed, but you managed to swim through the churning water to a promontory rock. There you found a cave and escaped the fury of the storm. You had only just lit a small fire when a mudslide sealed you within. Your fear of being buried alive calmed when you saw a corridor leading out of the cavern. Perhaps there is a way out of this cave after all. Once free of this cave, you can begin the Emperor's quest. I'm good without the tutorial. Been doing this since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, bro. Alright, so we know our job here. We got sealed in by a mudslide. call that? And Stoff. Alright, well, we're gonna close on the Stoff, because that is winner, winner, chicken dinner. Oh, you can get the card again. Look at my duds. Looking good. Next game, I'll update my profile picture. Alright, well, I am Aliera of Wayrest. This is my game. Well, I mean, it's Bethesda's game, but I'm in it, so we're gonna go find me. Let's go find the book quest. So drop us a like and subscribe. Stay up on everything that's awesome in gaming. Obviously, I have some unique perspectives. I'm a little bit more social than your average gamer, so hopefully you love coming along for the ride. We loved having you here. Thank you so much, and as always,